Hello everyone. أهلا بيكم في تعلم الإنجليزية. Learn English. New day, new episode and new topic. So today we're talking about houses and flats one more time, and we're going to look at how we can describe a house in detail. So now we're not talking about rooms and we're not talking about furniture anymore. We're talking about a topic from a broader perspective. So let's look in detail what we're going to learn about. So the first thing that we're going to learn about today is vocabulary. And for vocabulary that we have today, we're going to look at adjectives that can describe a house or a flat. And we're also looking at grammar. And for grammar, we're going to look at evaluations and comparisons when we evaluate or compare two houses together. And we're going to look at skills. And for skills, we have conversation skill. We're going to see how we can sell a flat and what we can say and how we can haggle or bargain to sell a flat. And we're going to look at reading, and we're going to read about a very strange house to sell. So let's start today. And today we're going to start with a brain teaser. For those who don't remember the meaning of a brain teaser, it's something that can help me think more in English. So it activates the English part in my brain. So it's something fun. We're going to think about it and we're going to think in English. So let's start. Our brain teaser today is called Odd One Out game. And in this game, we don't have right or wrong answers. So odd one out, which means we're going to choose a word which is different from the group. And you can choose any word. The important thing is the reason. Why is it the different one? So we're going to read groups of words and we're going to think together which one might be different, and the important thing is why. So let's take a look at the first group of words. The first group of words include hat, t-shirt, boots, and swimsuit. So if we have these four words, which one do you think would be different? So hat, t-shirt, boots, and swimsuit. So take a second, think. All of them are clothes. So which one do you think we're going to odd out? Why is it different? I will choose, if it's going to be one only that we're going to odd out, I think I would go for a swimsuit. Can you think why it's a swimsuit? What is the reason that the swimsuit is the different word from the other group? Exactly. So swimsuit is different because it's the only thing that we can wear inside the water, and the rest we wear them outside. So this is one reason. Okay, and there is another opinion, and this other opinion would say that boots would be the different word. So I am going to odd boots out. I'm going to choose boots as the different or the strange word. Why do you think boots would be different? We have hat, t-shirt, swimsuit, which are similar, but boots are different. Why do you think so? The second reason that we have here, and the reason that boots are different, boots are winter clothes, while hat, t-shirt, and swimsuit are summer clothes. So this is the second option. So this is how the game works. You're going to choose a word and you're going to give me a reason. Why is it different? So for the first one, as we said, it might be swimsuit because swimsuit is for water and the rest are not. Or it might be boots because boots are winter clothes and swimsuit, t-shirt, and hat are for summer. So let's look at number 2, and I will give you time to think which one is different. So we have a lion, cat, tiger, and bear. So which one do you think is different? Okay, so here again, we can have 2 different answers or maybe 3 different answers depending on your reason. So what do you think it's going to be? Okay, one option, or the first option would be cat is different. Why? Because lion, tiger, and bear are wild animals, while cat is a pet. I can raise a cat at my home, but I can't raise a lion, a tiger, or a bear. So this is the first thing that we odd out. A cat is different. And some other people would say, no, we will not choose cat, we will choose bear. Why do you think it's a bear? Think. If I'm going to odd bear out, why do you think bear would be the different word? Because basically, lion, cat, and tiger are from the same family. So if we're talking about the animal kingdom, if you remember the episode that we had for the animal kingdom, in this episode we talked about families. Lion, cat, and tiger are from the same family, which is not the same like bear. Bear is from a different family. So by this, we can have two options. Either a cat, because it's a pet and the rest are wild animals, or the bear, because tiger, cat, and lion are from the same family, which is not the same like the bear's family. So this is the second answer. Okay, let's now go to number 3, and let's think about the different one, and it might have more than one answer still. Here we have human, dolphin, shark, whale, and the different one would be, okay, so it's obvious and it doesn't need thinking. It's a no-brainer here. It's human. Why is it human? Because human lives on land, while dolphin, shark, whale are aquatics. They live in water. So this is the first thing that would come to the mind, and this is the obvious answer. But if we're going to think deeper, we might have a different option. Let's look again, and let's again remember the Animal Kingdom episode. In the Animal Kingdom episode, we said that we have similarities between human, dolphin, and whale. Do you remember what that was? Yes, human, dolphin, and whale are mammals, while shark is a fish. So they are not the same part from the kingdom. So here we can say that human, dolphin, and whales are similar because they are all mammals. Shark is not the same like them, it's the different one. So by this, for each and every one, we can have more than one option. All what we need to do is to think, why is it different? So the reason is the important part here. Okay, let's go to the next one and let's think which one we're gonna odd out. We have angry, happy, violence, and jealous. Angry, happy, violence, and jealous. So let's think about it and let's choose one that would be different. There is one which is obvious, and there is one, if we think deeper, if we think English-wise or if we think meaning-wise, it will be different. So the obvious answer is happy is different, because happy is something positive, while angry, violence, and jealous are all negative things. So this is the first reason. So, or this is the first option, to be specific. The first option is to choose happy. And this is the obvious and the easy one. Or we can think deeper, and if we think deeper, I will choose violence. Why? Because angry, happy, and jealous are all adjectives. They are all feelings. So we're talking about 3 adjectives, while violence here is a noun. So if we're talking English-wise, language-wise, the 3 of them are the same, but violence is different because we have adjective, 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 violence, noun. So here, for this one, we have two different answers. Maybe it's happy because the clear meaning of happy is different from the rest. It's positive, the rest are negative. Or if we think deeper, if we think English-wise or language-wise, we have three adjectives and a noun. I will odd the noun out. Okay, let's move to the next one. Number 5. We have wedding, engagement, birthday, and New Year. And in here, we will have only one clear option, which is the right answer. Which one would you odd out? Wedding, engagement, birthday, or New Year? Yes, if I am going to odd out, I will odd New Year out. Why do you think New Year is the different word? Exactly, because basically, if we're talking about wedding, engagement, or birthday, these are all personal occasions. If you remember when we talked about personal occasions, so these are things that I celebrate on my own time in a different date than the rest of the people. Meanwhile, New Year is a public occasion. All people celebrate at the same time, so it's public for everyone, while these are personal occasions. So we don't have another option, or maybe you can think of another thing, maybe. Okay, and the last option, or the last one that we have here, we have house, villa, flat, and apartment. Okay, in this case, or in this last one, which one would you odd out? I will give you a second to think. House, villa, flat, apartment. Actually, if I am going to odd one out, I will odd apartment. Why do you think apartment is the different word? We're going to think English-wise. Or we can choose flat as well. So it might be this, might be that. Both can be the odd one out. Do you remember why? Because if we're talking about house, villa, flat, they are all British words, while apartment is American. Or we can say house, villa, apartment are American words, while flat is only British. So this is how we odd one out. And speaking about houses and apartments, which is today's topic, so let's look at how we can describe flats and houses. So let's take a look at adjectives that can help me describe a flat or a house. Okay, so speaking about flats and houses, so this is the time that we start and look at our first part, which is the vocabulary. So the first part that we have for now is adjectives that we can use to describe a flat or a house. So when we describe a flat or a house, we have more than one thing that we can describe. We can describe the flat from the inside, or we can describe the area itself, or we can describe the view. So we have many different options that we can give a description for. So let's look at some adjectives. So here we have a long list of adjectives that we can use to describe. So we'll look at them, we'll think of the meaning, and we would think we use it to describe something inside or outside, and we would think, is it something positive or something negative? Is it a positive description or a negative description? So let's take a look at them one by one and think. Is it describing the flat or the house from the inside or outside? Is it positive or negative? So the first one we have is bright, bright, bright. So if we're talking about bright, bright is an adjective that describes a room which is full of light. And usually when we say bright, we're talking about natural light. So we're talking about sunlight, which means it has big windows so the sun can come inside. So that's how we describe it as bright. So a bright room is a room full of sunlight. So if I describe a room as bright, do you think that this is something positive or something negative? Exactly. So description of bright, the word bright is a positive description. And the word bright is describing the home from the inside, or we're describing the area or describing the view. So it's describing the interior design, or it's describing the interior part of the house. The second word that we have is comfortable. Comfortable. And here we have a silent letter, which is the O. We don't say comfortable. It's not for. The O is silent, so it's comfort, comfortable, comfortable. Not comfortable, it's comfortable, comfortable. So, if we're talking about comfortable, it's a place that I can relax inside. So, is it something positive or something negative if we can relax in this place? Exactly. So, if we can relax in a place, it is positive description. And comfortable can describe the place from inside or outside. It's usually describing the inside of the place. And then we have convenient. Convenient. So, convenient here means suitable or good for me. And we don't say con, so the first sound is not o, it's con, con, con. So the sound here, remember the schwa that we talked about before? So it's not convenient, it's convenient, convenient. So convenient, which means good for me, it is suitable for me. So is it something positive or something negative to live in a convenient house? It is something positive. And then we have cramped, cramped, cramped. And here we have the final sound is t, t. I write D, but what we say is t, cramped, cramped. So I write it as D, but because here we have a P before it, it's going to be t. So cramped, which means it has no space for me to move. So for example, I can have a room. This room is full of furniture, so this room is cramped. So cramped doesn't have enough space. So it's not about the size of the place. It can be a very, very big place, but I put a lot of things inside, so it becomes cramped. So cramped is not about the size, it's about what I put inside. For example, I have a very big bag and I put lots of things in this bag. So the bag becomes cramped. There is no space for anything. So if I say that my room is cramped, is it something positive or something negative? It is something negative because you don't have enough space to move, or you don't have enough space to put anything. So cramped is a negative description. And if we're talking about it, does it describe the inside or the outside? It can describe both. So if we're talking about the street, I can say the street is cramped with buildings. Or if we're describing the room, I can say my room is cramped with furniture. The important idea is I don't have enough space for movement, or I don't have enough space to put anything else. And then we have dangerous, dangerous. So dangerous is not safe. So is it positive or negative? Dangerous is negative. And I use dangerous to describe, it's usually describing the area. So I can say that this area is dangerous, or this area isn't safe. So dangerous is a negative description, not for the inside of the house. We're talking about the area or the place that the home or the flat is inside. And then we have dark. Dark is the opposite of bright. If we don't have enough sunlight, or if the place is not bright enough, we say it's dark, dark. Okay, so dark here, is it positive or negative? It is negative. And dark is describing the interior part, or it's describing the house from the inside. And then we have a similar description, which is dingy, dingy. And this here is j sound. It's dingy, dingy. And dingy is a place which again doesn't have enough light. So I can have a very small window that gets little sunshine, so I can say, whoa, this room is too dingy, which means I don't have enough sunlight. So dingy is very similar to dark, and they both describe the flat from the inside, and both of them are negative descriptions. And then we have expensive, expensive, and here we're talking about something that has a high price. So if it has a high price, it is expensive. And here, this is the first time that we're going to look at the word neutral. Do you see the word neutral? Neutral, which means in the middle, or it depends on the situation. Maybe it's positive, maybe it's negative. So let's think about it. If we have an expensive flat and I am selling this flat, is it something positive or negative? It is positive. I will get a lot of money. But if I am buying a flat and the flat is expensive, it's negative because I will pay a lot of money. So the word expensive is a bit neutral. So you can't tell. It depends on the situation. Okay, and here we have the next word, which is spacious, 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 spacious. So the CIOS are called shus, shus, spacious, spacious, which means full of space. So it is the opposite of cramped. So I can say that my room doesn't have enough space to put anything, so my room is cramped. Or my room has lots of space, so my room is spacious, spacious. So if you have lots of spaces, or if you have a lot of space, this is something positive. And it can describe streets, it can describe rooms, so it can describe the flat from the inside, or it can describe the area itself. And then we have huge, huge. Huge is very big. So we can have big and then huge. So this is the higher level of big. So is it something positive or something negative to have a huge flat or a huge house? It's something positive. And then we have inconvenient, inconvenient. So can you find the opposite of inconvenient here? Yes. So inconvenient, the opposite is convenient. So if you remember, convenient means good for me. I can say it's suitable or good for my needs. Inconvenient is the opposite. For example, I have a big family and I see a 2-room flat. So this is not suitable for me. This is inconvenient. So inconvenient is something positive or negative? It is something negative. And it can describe the flat, it can describe the street, it can describe the area, it can describe anything that's not good for me. For the next one, we have modern, modern, and modern, which means it has a new style. So it's something positive. Some people would say, I don't like the new style, so in this case, we look at neutral, because not all the people prefer modern style. Some people prefer the old style more. So it depends on the personal taste. And then we have noisy, which is full of noise, which is again negative. And we have private. Private. So private means that no one can see you or no one can hear your voices. So this is something positive, that no one can see you from the window or no one can hear your voice when you speak. So it is positive to have a private home. And here we have quiet. Quiet. So if we're talking about quiet, again, it depends. But I would say that quiet is something that is negative for people who don't like places that are quiet, because it can be dangerous sometimes. Or we can go for neutral if we're talking about quiet as the opposite of noisy. Like, I want to study in a quiet room. In this case, it's going to be something positive. But if I'm talking about it's a quiet street, it might be a bit dangerous. And then we have safe. Safe. Can you find the opposite of safe? We have talked about it before. Yes, this is the opposite of safe. It's dangerous. So if dangerous is negative, this means that safe is positive. And then we have shabby. Shabby. Shabby is when we speak about a place that is old and in a very bad condition. So we can look at a flat with bad paint. The paint fell off the wall and it doesn't have enough light and it's not modern enough. So we're talking about a shabby flat. So it is old and in a bad condition. So shabby is something negative, but not anything that is old negative. For example, we have the pyramids. The pyramids are old, but are they in a bad condition? Of course not. So in this case, we're talking about something which is ancient, old, but we're not talking about shabby. So the pyramids are not shabby, the pyramids are ancient, the pyramids are old. But we can see a building and this building isn't taken care of, so the building is in a bad condition. In this case, it's shabby. Or I have a jacket which has cuts and torns, so it's a shabby jacket. Shabby, old, in bad condition. So shabby is negative word. And the last word is small. And here small, if we're talking about small, can you find the opposite for it? Yes, so we have huge, the opposite is small. If huge is positive, so small is negative. And I can use small for either describing the street, the area, or for describing the house from the inside. Okay, so by this we have looked at adjectives that can help me describe a house or a flat. Let's look how we can utilize adjectives and what else we can talk about when it comes to description. Okay, so if we're talking about description, we can describe it, or we can speak about the flat or the house saying it is or saying it has. If you remember when we talked about is and has before, is usually followed by adjective. So if we're talking about any of these adjectives, usually we're going to use it is. And we have it has. We have other words or other things that we can add that we can describe when we speak about the house. So here we have a word like spacious. So spacious, is it one of the adjectives that we talked about? Yes, it's an adjective. Do you remember the meaning? The meaning is full of space. So in this case, is or has, of course, as long as it's an adjective, so I can say, I like my house, it's spacious. Unusual, which is different, I can say, I like my street. Unusual here, it's another adjective, so I like my street, it's unusual. And we have typical. Typical means regular or normal. So I can say I have a typical flat, which means the regular normal flat that anybody can have. So again, we're talking about adjective, so it is typical. If we're talking about air conditioning, so if I am talking about my flat, and in my flat, air conditioning, this is not an adjective. So this is a noun, so I can say my flat has air conditioning. I love this flat, it has air conditioning. And for the next one, a view. A view is what you can see through your window. When you open your window or when you open your balcony, you see something beautiful, it's called a view. So I can say, I like this flat, it. If we say a view, we're talking about a noun, it has a view. If we're talking about close to, which means near, this is another adjective. So I don't like this flat, it's not close to transportation, or I like this flat, it's close to my work. And fashionable, which means stylish or modern, and it's an adjective, so in this case we can say it is. Okay, by this we have looked at adjectives, nouns, what verbs we can use. Let's have some practice for that. We're going to look at some flats, we're going to look at some houses. Let's look together and let's try to describe them. Okay, so now we're going to have some practice for what we have talked about. So we're going to look together at different pictures of different flats or houses, and we're going to try to give a description. Let's look at the first picture that we have here. So what adjectives and what words from the words that we have looked at together would give a good description for this one? Okay, so first of all, if we look at it, does it look modern? It's not modern, but it's fashionable. It is stylish. So I can say, I like my house, or I like this flat. It's fashionable, it's stylish, or it has a classic style, more than modern style. So it has a classic style. So it is bright. So if we're talking, it's full of light, it's bright. But can you see the view? No. So we can say, but it doesn't have a view. So it's spacious. We can have lots of space. So it is spacious. Or it has a classic style. It's classic, or it has a classic style. It's huge. It's comfortable, but it doesn't have a view. So we can speak about the positive and the negative at the same time. Let's look at the next picture. Okay, so if you look at this picture, what's the first adjective that will come to your mind? The first adjective that comes to my mind when I look at it is bright. So this room is bright, or this flat is bright. And we can say it's cozy. So cozy, which means it looks comfortable. So it's bright, it's cozy, or I can say it is convenient for a small family. It's convenient, which means it's suitable, if you remember. And if you look out of the window, you can see a nice, beautiful garden. So this is the idea of the view. So it has a nice view of a beautiful garden. So if I'm going to give a full description, it has air conditioning, it has a nice view of a beautiful garden, it's cozy, it's comfortable, it's convenient for a small family. And of course, it is bright. So we can look at different things that we can describe. If we're talking about something negative, we can say it is small. So we can look at the negative and the positive. What about this one? So, how would you describe it? First of all, the first thing that comes to my mind, the first adjective that comes to my mind when I speak about this is modern. It has a modern style. The second thing that we can see, which is very clear, is the view. So if you can look here, it has a very nice view of the city. So we can say it has a modern style, it has a beautiful view of the city, and what else? It's spacious. So we have lots of space, it is spacious. So if we're talking about something negative, what do you think might be negative about it? Okay, I don't see any air conditioning here, so it doesn't have air conditioning. So if we're talking about the positive, the view, the space, it's spacious, the style, which is modern or fashionable, and the negative here is, yeah, it doesn't have air conditioning. Let's look at the next one. How would you describe it? So here we have an adjective which called luxurious. Luxurious, which means it has lots of good options that can make me feel rich. So it's called luxurious. So this is here is a luxurious house or a luxurious mansion. It has lots of space, so we can say it is spacious. Is it modern? No, it's not. It has a classic style, or it is classic. Okay, what might be negative about it? Actually, I would say it's not bright enough. I don't see any sunlight, so it doesn't have a lot of windows, so it's not bright enough. And we can say it doesn't have a view. So it doesn't have a view, or it's not bright enough. Both of them might be negative about it. And for the last one, so the first thing that comes to my mind when I look at it is comfortable. Comfortable. So this flat is comfortable, and it has a nice view, or it doesn't have a clear view, to be honest, so it doesn't have a view, but it is bright. It has big windows. So it's comfortable, it's bright. It doesn't have a view, but it does have air conditioning, if you can see that. So this is how we can give description. So when we give description, we need to look at what is positive and what's negative, and then decide what might be the good adjectives or noun that can help me, and based on that, choose it is or it has. Let's together take a look at what else can help me speak about these apartments, and let's see if we create an ad, how we can create an ad for a flat. Okay, so we have looked at how we can describe a flat, or we can describe a house. So now let's look at an ad. Usually when somebody wants to buy a house or a flat, they look at advertisement, they look at newspaper or the internet to find more information or more details about this flat. So if we can look here, let's take a look. Here we have two different ads. Let's look at them and see how people can describe the flats. So we have furnished studio apartment for rent. So if I am writing an ad, I need to clarify, is it for rent? Is it for sale? So we need to clarify in the ad. So here furnished, which means with furniture. Small kitchen, large bathroom, balcony, wall-to-wall carpeting, which means we have carpets over the wall, walk-in closet, on-street parking, 550 per month, plus security deposit. No pets, call, blah. So this is an example of an ad. And we had another example. Remember when we said luxurious, when we said it makes me feel rich? Here we have luxury downtown apartment, living, 2 to 3 and 4 bedrooms. Furnished, it has furniture. And unfurnished, you can choose. You can take it with furniture or not. Great views, doorman. And we also have dry cleaner, grocery in a building, and near shopping and transportation. And this is the website. So the first one that we have here, this is called face-to-face or personal rent. This is direct rent. And the second one that we have here, it's called a broker. A broker is a company or a person who takes a flat and try to rent it to another person. So he's a middleman that connects two people together. So this is called a broker. Now we're going to look at a conversation between the direct rent, a person who would like to rent the flat, and the person who owns it. Let's look at the conversation. So we have, good morning, sir. Good morning. I have read the ad about the apartment for rent. Yes. Is it still available? Yes, it is. Okay, I have some questions. Sure, go ahead. Does it have a view? So the person is checking what they need in the flat. Does it have a view? Yes, a great view of a very nice park. Okay, good. Is it close to transportation? Not really. The nearest transportation service is a 3-minute walk. Oh, okay. When can I check it out? Every Sunday from 9 to 5. So here we have this conversation between the broker and, between the person who wants to rent and the person who's offering the flat. For now, this person is going to go to the flat. The person who wants to rent is going to try to find all the negative stuff so they can reduce the price. And the person who owns the flat, who's offering it, is going to try to speak about all the positive or the good stuff to increase the price. So this part is where we need the grammar of comparisons and evaluation. So comparison and evaluation will help me talk about adjectives and description. I can evaluate something and I can speak about the negativities of it or the positivities, of course. So let's look at evaluation. So the first thing is that I can use the adjective and enough. And we usually use it in a negative way to speak about the negativities of the flat. So for example, I can say, apartments aren't big enough for families. I can tell the person, oh, I like it, but it's not big enough for me. So just to tell him that I like it, but I want you to reduce the price. So instead of saying it's bad, I speak about the positive adjective, which is big, and then put not before it and put enough after it. So it's not big enough. So instead of saying it's small, I say it's not big enough. Or I can use enough again, and I can use it with nouns. So I can say I like it, but it doesn't have enough rooms. So still small, we're talking about small. But still I didn't say the negative word, which is small. So here, if you can see, we had a lot of negative description. So I don't use the negative word, I just use the positive with not and enough. So if we're talking about a noun, I can speak about rooms. It doesn't have enough rooms. Or houses don't have enough closets. So if you notice, and I want you to remember this, enough comes before the noun, but it comes after the adjective. So I can say, I don't have enough money for this house. I don't have enough time to come and visit. Enough people. So I put enough and then the noun. While we have adjective enough. The room is not big enough. The street is not spacious enough. The house is not safe enough. So safe, adjective, it comes before enough. So enough before the noun and enough after the adjective. And this is how we evaluate. So let's have some practice for that. Our apartment is too small if I want to use the word rooms. So our apartment is too small, it, or there are. So there are not enough rooms. There aren't enough rooms. So here I used the negative, which is not, with enough and then the noun. Okay, people can see into our house, and I want to use privacy. Privacy, not private. Privacy here is the noun. So in this case, there isn't enough privacy. Privacy noun, rooms noun. This apartment is very noisy, and here we have quiet, which is adjective. It's not quite enough. So I started with quite and then enough. See how I used them? So this is how we start, and this is how we speak about it when we start comparison or evaluations. So for this, let's go and see when the girl goes to check out the house. Let's read the conversation and see how the conversation goes and how she uses enough, how she uses the expressions to reduce the price. So she's now in the house and she's meeting the gentleman who's offering it. So it's like, hello, hi. I am here for the apartment in the ad. I want to check it out. Sure, go ahead. I kind of like it. How much do you need for it? £500 as mentioned in the ad. I feel it's too much money for it. It isn't close enough to transportation. Do you see how she used it? It's not close enough for transportation, so she used this expression to reduce the price. So this is how we use these expressions in a conversation. I use them to show that I can reduce the price, and this is called bargaining. By this, we have looked today at houses, and we have looked at how we can describe them, how we can evaluate and compare, and if I would like to use these adjectives to reduce the price, how I can use them. So by this, we have reached the end of our episode. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.